Call the Finance Committee to order. Pledge of Allegiance.
Jamie.
We have a meeting in the other room today.
That door's gonna lock. That door's gonna lock.
Where'd she go?
You got it. Oh, man, she's coming around the other way. Or no, Michael's over there.
Apologies.
Another late meeting.
Wave it all on. The flag. No.
Just want to make sure it goes back.
Yeah.
into the folder. There.
There's no perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay, I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go.
Bringing us our flags. All right. Roll call.
Decent is excused. Ermeling,
Here.
Evans,
Here.
Maloney,
Here.
John, he's excused.
He is excused?
Yes.
Okay, so he sent something to you, Barb,
No.
or to clerk? Okay. Okay,
Okay, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of January 15th.
motion to approve?
And then Maloney,
I better second it.
second by Evans. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and so carried. Public comments, anybody on Zoom or any of those?
No.
Okay. Acknowledge work products transmission, February budget status report.
Changed up the format a little bit. Gives a really good view of the revenues today and the expenditures today. Everything's tracking pretty normal. You can see the stormwater fees are up, reflect the wage increase or the rate increase that went up last year.
Mhm.
Other than that, there's nothing too exciting so far.
Oh, that's good news.
The format is really nice.
The format is nice.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
We're just acknowledging. Motion to acknowledge.
Motion by Maloney,
Second.
second by Evans. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. TIF 1 and 2 details report for February.
The main things I want to point out for the TIF 2 is we did pay out the 2 grants that we have. We have 2 grants in TIF 1 for Old Clear River, and the other one was for Tommy Docks, and we
Oh,
paid
okay.
out both grants in February.
Okay.
Okay, any, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to acknowledge it.
I'll second.
Motion by Evans, second by Maloney. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so carried. Anything on legal detail?
Just if you have any questions.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Educational presentation, safer memo.
So for the first few months of the year, finance is really busy, just trying to wrap up year end. So the first one that we did, the safer audit, I did a nice little briefer there of the total fund balance is 3.3 million, 2.1 was in capital equipment, 1.2 was in the general fund. And the reason we're building up that capital equipment fund is because Safer plans on buying a ladder truck. So we just have the funds for that. The budget to actual revenues were over budget, 295. Most of it was excess ambulance revenues. Total expenditures exceeded budget by 23,000. That majority of that is because we ended up paying back a grant that we did not spend. So that was 22,268.
Okay.
Other than that, is there any questions after you viewed the financial statements or the draft?
When do you have the ladder truck coming in? It's this year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
It,
it's,
it might be early, right? Is what I'm hearing?
I don't know. I know they paid $400,000 so far.
for the latter. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we
Thank
need
you.
any action on that or just to acknowledge or?
Yeah, it's just, letting you know what we've been working on.
Okay.
So we got nothing else. We're still in the middle of the village, so, the Everest Metro Public Safety Audit is almost done. They were done with the audit and then she emailed last week where are the financial statements and later to find out I gave it to her a month ago, so
Oh,
Okay.
hopefully we're on the same page now and they'll be reviewing them. But I did a nice little draft of where they were at. So Everest Metro Public Safety includes Everest Metro Court and the police department.
Well, that's why the safety, that was my question. Okay.
Yeah, so if
Okay.
you look at the actual contract, the contract is for Everest Metro Public Safety. When we
Mhm.
originally had the contract with Schofield and Weston.
Okay.
Other than that, it didn't end up too bad. We had a net change in fund balance of 8,843. With everything going on there in 2023. The nice, we got a nice little fund balance summary. It really shows where everything was. Like the police department has quite a few designated funds, like they have the DARE and the victim compensation, just different pockets of money they use the funds out of. And then you
Mhm.
also have the municipal court. But other than that, I got nothing more to say. Is there any questions on Everest Metro Public Safety?
I have a question about going forward. Are you gonna have the same format? Or is there gonna be a different format after the merger takes place?
I will not be involved with that, so I don't know.
The fiduciary will be at Rothschild.
It will be, so it
Yes,
could be a
but-
totally different format.
Well, I know, but it'll be transparency to us too. So I don't know, when you were the fiduciary, was Schofield and the town that involved?
No.
Okay, I envision us more involved. I just envision us at least looking at it more. But-
I think they were, like the city of Schofield, I know communicated with Clay quite a bit.
Mhm. Okay,
So they didn't come to us, they went out through Clay.
good
so-
play.
And the
And then-
town,
What about the undesignated fund? Is that something that's not here or is that here?
unassigned,
Oh, there it is. I see it. Or no.
Unassigned.
So that's sitting at 683?
yes.
Okay, and is there other monies somewhere else? I thought that was much higher.
The grand total is 1,024,000.
Okay, it is. Okay, all right, got it.
Now, does that get all merged in then, the new department, or how does that work?
Well, we'll see how that all works, because I think some of that might be asked for back.
mhm.
But Dan Virgin is talking to Schofield and Milt right now on some of that stuff.
The way the agreement is drafted, it says and unassigned fund balance, but if that's a conversation that happens as it goes through approvals, then.
Right.
Yeah, but the
Right.
way that the agreement is drafted, it says that the unassigned fund balance would move with the unification of the creation of the new department.
It was all, I mean, it was taxed for and paid for police services, so. Jessica has a point though, that this would be the time, and in fact, Shane Vanderwall has made some comments that we're dissolving the police department. So everybody should be able to pull theirs all back, but are we actually dissolving it, or are we merging or unifying? I mean, with a simple couple changes, we could have Rothschild merge with the EMPD, and then we're not dissolving it. But I don't believe Shane has a positive feeling about this, and hasn't for a while.
With the merger?
I think he's the only person I know that isn't. So, I mean, there's questions on it, but I think it's gonna be
Yeah, well, that was,
excellent.
that
So,
was my question, what
Mhm.
happens? Because
Right.
does Schofield, I mean, with our original agreement with Schofield,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, back in the, I thought there was something in that contract that said
Mhm.
if they backed out, what, you know,
right, there's a 2-year out. And then if they walked away, so there's two differences there, but the part that Shane is referring to that Craig is talking about is I don't believe it says dissolved. There's a different word for it. But the point is, it would be, correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, it would be So it wouldn't be the 854, the original number. It'd be the amount that they were charged for the last year. And we bought them down to like 804, 805, and then we bought them down another 50 grand to 754. So it'd be 754 into the entire total. That would be their percentage. And same with milk. So milk's been sitting there with the town of Weston at 115. It's never increased
Yeah.
for 6 or 7 years. That's what they would get. They wouldn't get the original formula. They would get what they paid into it the year before. So.
Percentage.
And if it is, it is what it is. You know, we're looking at contracting to those two communities. And, I don't know if we could raise the towns, but, you know, taking the city from 854 to 650. And then with a 2% kicker every year for the next, 10 years, that's a hell of a savings for them. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to take some of this money up front and then maybe pay 675 or 700. That's up to them.
As long as it's used for police services.
Well, that's what it should be used for. So that's what we were saying, Jessica and I and Jamie had a talk, and I think if anybody pulled it back, they put it in for police services. That's the whole point. Dan Virgin is really talking that up pretty hard with everybody. So if you want to hold it on your side, but then put it back in for police services, fine. And then it won't be any harder for you in years to come. So anyway, and
I
then,
would think they'd want to leave it there, but.
yeah, I would think. So we'll see how that goes. I think, are we the first ones tonight to vote?
Yes.
We are. Oh, this ought to be
No,
I
lively.
was just wondering how that works with,
Yeah.
because then it becomes
Mhm.
part of the new department, but
Mhm.
yet Rothschild did not contribute anything.
Well,
They don't have a fund balance.
no, because it's
They're
just,
in the
it's,
general fund, so every,
so it
any
just comes
overage
out
or
there.
under in police is just wrapped up in general
they
fund.
will now, because now the police department won't be working just for Rothschild. So the chief won't be employed by just Rothschild. They'll be employed by, all of us. I just had a thought there, so shoot.
I
The
would mention
fund
the
balance.
municipal court has been acted on by the
Right.
city of Schofield already and approved.
Right.
But not the police department piece,
Right.
just the municipal court piece
Mhm.
has been acted on.
Right.
So the municipal court portion of the fund balance is 29,382.66.
Mhm.
So there
That
is a
is, that
portion
is
that
my
was levied
concern
from
is
before.
that we're going into the fund balance.
Oh,
And there's,
now I was gonna say, so remember when we had ARPA funds? And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of harped hard that we should do 10% of our ARPA
Mhm.
funds to police and fire,
Mhm.
okay? Even though, Schofield's portion of their 10% of ARPA funds was in the 20,000 range.
Mhm.
Ours was like 260,000. So 260,000 of our ARPA funds went into an entity that we were, what are we at, 74, 75%? So we're paying a much larger portion than what they were putting in, and then I think the town of Weston paid like 7,000. And we were actually considering maybe more money going into the public safety, but I kept saying, when I was being asked some of those questions, especially from the chiefs, how do we make this so, I hate to be selfish, but how do we make it so that it's Weston's portion? I mean, that's a lot of money when you're talking, we could have done tons of stuff with it in other areas too. And but that's just what we did. So, yeah, it's
Well,
kind of a horsey
that-
piece there to think about that.
Yeah, well, I
Mhm.
guess that's why I'm a little
Mhm,
concerned about the
mhm.
fact that the surplus,
Yeah,
is basically Weston and Schofield and
well, it's basically Weston's,
Yeah,
the
right.
village.
And
so
I guess if
Mhm.
Rothschild is not bringing anything, into surplus into this, why are we?
But they're bringing a building in, they're bringing in land, all those homes are built there, and if we redo that, they would want us to help pay that in the 2 or 3 years that we decide something,
Well,
if it
that's
stays
where-
there.
I guess that's
Mhm.
where I'm coming from is
But,
that.
but we've been at a 75%, Jessica?
I actually don't know.
It's 74 to 76% is where we are, and now going into this, we're gonna be at 65, 35. And I think we started at 78, 22.
It was in the 70s.
It was the high 70s in 22, then it went to 75, 25. And then miraculously, it hit 65, 35, and I'm going, whoa, this is huge. 65, 35, it's in the contract all day
Well,
long. We take that.
I
That's
could be wrong.
better for
I
us.
could be
Yeah.
thinking wrong or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
I
we-
guess I
the
would
reason-
like to have this
Yeah.
fund balance, if we
Yeah,
would keep that, it would be put in to maybe at, because you were saying there
Mhm.
might at some point have to be an
Mhm.
addition to the garage or the
Mhm.
whatevers,
Right.
and use that funding for
Mhm.
that.
right.
Then it
Right.
would still be used for the
Mm-hmm.
safety department.
We're kind of off the budget status.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I'm
we
sorry.
are.
You're right,
Yeah.
you're right.
Sorry.
No,
No,
thank you for
that's
doing that.
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, EMP.
But I figured that this is what we got in front
It's
of us.
not, we're
No,
talking about
she's right.
Evans
She's
Metro,
right.
and right now, the village is at 78.83, the town is at 2.68, and these are actual percentages with the
Right.
115, and then the city is at 18.5.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, so motion to acknowledge the EMPS memo.
So moved.
There we go. Motion second. Yep, motion for you. Yeah,
Evan,
okay.
second by.
Yep.
Maloney, on the question,
Mhm.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Village General Fund memo.
Okay, so this is really preliminary because I just made a $20,000 entry today. You know how we talked about tax, the tax rate and how it affects everything. I don't know if you remember, not that long ago, PILT was being talked about for the city of Wausau. So it's the money that the water utility pays the general fund. It's actually based off of the actual tax rate.
Mhm.
So when we budget, we look at last year's and we assume tax rates go up. It did not go up this year, so we budgeted 480 and the actual number is closer to 460. So we'll be making a $20,000 entry to reduce the revenues of the general fund because the water utility will not be paying us so much, so. Other than that, we're still about $400,000 surplus.
Okay.
Which is pretty significant. And then I just wanna remind you that I did get the board approval to transfer that to the general fund, so, that'll be, what?
For
Oh,
capital,
capital, sorry, so the capital fund, so.
because it helps reduce the amount of borrowing we would have to do. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we talked about the fund balance in the general fund is significant, we really don't need to be adding to it, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Move to acknowledge?
Motion by Mark,
Second by.
second, Evans. Okay, on the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I oppose. So carried. Policy issues, 2024 budget amendment number 1.
So far in '24, we had a light year for salt purchases, leaving a projected surplus for winter maintenance. Public Works has requested amending the budget to move $100,000 of salt funds for street maintenance. At the last board meeting, it was requested that $15,000 of salt savings be used for the cat trap neuter vaccine release, TNVR. So I just did a quick little summary of what we're looking at doing. We're looking at reducing our current salt budget of $240,000 by 115, moving 100 to street maintenance, and then 15,000 to outside contracted services.
Do we need 100,000 in the street? I mean, we didn't budget for it, so now it's a gift. And I see a whole bunch of gifts being asked for out of ARPA tonight. I mean, why wouldn't we take that 100,000 since we don't need it? And are we splurging, or why wouldn't we want to be a little tighter and then let some of that 100,000 go to some of these office asks and stuff that's in that ARPA? There's a whole bunch of stuff that staff is talking about for ARPA. Why just throw the 100,000 out?
It's essentially, it gets us another mile of asphalt overlays paved.
But it's not what we budgeted for.
It's not,
We didn't
it
think about it.
moves up a street from next year to this year,
Okay.
I guess, ideally, our street maintenance budget should probably be about $1.2 million. We budget 545. We've never actually had enough money in the street maintenance budget for what an ideal world would to get us at a spot where we're maintaining the number of miles every year that we would. So.
But nobody is.
Nobody is.
Yeah, nobody is.
But it's a way to,
Mhm.
it's a public works budget item. Had we had snow this winter.
Uh-huh.
You know, we probably would have beat up the roads a little more, would have had more freeze thaw cycles, more potholes, so I guess it's an opportunity to utilize monies that were budgeted for streets, to maintain our streets.
Yes.
I have a question, being new to the village finance committee, but being very familiar with budgeting throughout my life. You know, we have all these amendments to the budget, I'm just throwing out. And to me, a budget is set until the end of the year. And then you note the changes, because there's always gonna be changes to the budget. And at the end of the year, then you look at the deficit or the surplus and decide overall what that surplus is. And to me, not asking to change, sure, I'm new, but doing the amendments every time is kind of just a way to violate the original budget that was thought through by a lot of different people putting the numbers in. Same change, but just from my viewpoint, I can see some weaknesses is when you're always amending the budget. Just my comment.
In my other world, I'm right with you. This is the only world, and church. Church gets to do what it wants to, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in a really negative way on government, but it is odd that you get to rearrange your budget. Like right now, my question on the 100 grand.
So the reason I'm asking now is, in a traditional year, we would have, our salt shed wouldn't be full like it is right now, it'd be empty. And we'd be spending that money in August, September, when we get our salt delivery. Otherwise, in years past, we've waited until September, October and go, oh, we're gonna be looking like we're coming in under budget. At that point, though, it's too late for us to go repave a mile of road. The contractors are booked through the end of the paving season. And then that money just gets rolled into the surplus, and a couple times we've been able to say, hey, we wanna designate this surplus for the following year. I guess instead of waiting until October to say, hey, 25, can we have that money to do an extra 100,000 in 2025? I'm asking, can we just do that in 24? Cause we know we don't need all that money for the salt purchase because winter didn't happen like it traditionally would.
Not only did we save the money on the salt, we're gonna save it again in fall by not having to buy it.
This is
Correct.
all savings.
That is a false savings.
now.
Right.
Correct.
You had to commit to the purchase already.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, just because we're always behind in the road maintenance.
But that's the point, we're always behind.
It was budgeted for
Mhm.
public works, and a lot of the funds that we use to budget public works is our transportation aid. So I mean,
Okay.
in the past, we've always
Yep.
talked about how with the increase in transportation aid, we want to keep it in transportation. And we haven't always been doing that.
I hear everybody loud and clear, because I will be using the exact same argument for police money. Yep, police money stays in police. Period. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I really don't know what that means, but it's something I've heard, so.
Well, my thought is that it would.
Yeah, good.
Because it would.
So that's
be
2
the-
votes, that's 2.
Well, that
I need
would
2
be-
more.
But we'll talk about that later.
There's 1 more out here, I think. So anyway, I'm sorry, let's go here.
Yeah,
All right,
all right.
so
what's
where are we
your-
there?
What's your pleasure on this?
Boy, I don't know. Just real quick, one more argument. So I see the staff asking for all those other things in ARPA money that's not parks. I kind of thought our thing was with the ARPA money left, the 700 to 800 grand, it would be for smiles. You know, we spent a ton of money on not smiles, and now it's gonna be for parks, but now I see some consultant stuff in there, I see some other stuff. I don't know how it's gonna go tonight. I'm gonna push all for parks. But if staff wants some of that other stuff, this is a real place we can get it from right here. You know, so we get ahead 1 year with 1 mile, but from now on, we'll always be at the same pace.
we
All I'm
would.
saying.
So to Jessica's point, our transportation aids are ticking up. You know, I'd argue that our transportation aids aren't where they were supposed to be because for many years we didn't use transportation aids for streets.
Correct.
We used it for other items when you weren't on the board.
Who was it?
You weren't. But it was used to fill gaps to not raise tax rates. And then we realized, oh, shoot, we've made a mistake now and we're getting less money now from the state for our streets because we're not spending the money we're supposed to be spending on them. So I guess now that we are on an upward trend, we want to make sure that monies we do budget for street maintenance are used for street maintenance, whether it's winter maintenance or summer maintenance.
Is this 100 grand critical right now this month, or can we wait one more month?
So we're bidding, I guess we're trying to get our bid packets out for our maintenance projects so that we can have those awarded in April and contractors can start in May.
Okay.
I guess if it,
But it would be ideal, cause
it would be ideal.
you're gonna get the best rates bidding it all together.
So if you do an amendment to move the funds over to street maintenance and
I technically don't even have to do an amendment, I could just leave it. Because the way the village adopts the budget, we budget public works.
Public Works is one channel.
Public works is
Yeah.
public works, so if we wanna just not do this amendment, I'm fine with it. I just thought for transparency, we bring it up.
So without the thought of transparency, Michael could just spend it and not come to the board?
Yes,
Really?
I would ask
It's in
Jessica,
his budget. It's not that
It's in
he's
Public
taking
Works.
money from another budget.
right.
It's in his budget already.
Just moving between the accounts, we have a ton of accounts. Simpler governments would just have maybe a few accounts within their accounting structure. We have a lot. So what we do is, so when you see that budget status report, we ask for a budget amendment.
Okay.
Just so you're not flabbergasted when we have a huge variance on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Okay, what's
Go
your
ahead.
pleasure?
I thought you were gonna go.
If nobody else will, I will. I
Okay.
recommend the village board approve the recommended 2024 budget amendments as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Evans. On the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed? So carried.
don't want Michael to get in trouble and just do it, even though he won't get in trouble.
Well, I like this because it shows it's going.
No, that's
to
fine.
I agree for
that
transparency, but
I know.
money's fungible and
Mhm.
cash is cash and you never know where you're gonna need it, especially going through a merger with the police departments and everything.
Okay.
I guess as Jessica said, it is staying in the public works budget. At the end of the day, when you guys see. the
I
public
heard you
works-
loud and clear. I heard it loud and clear.
No,
Yeah, you know. Don't be walking around with like an extra 100,000 on your shirt.
Budget amendment number two.
it's not extra.
What?
Budget amendment number 2.
Yep.
So I'm bringing this forward, if you don't wanna approve it, that's not a big deal, but right now, because of the additional grant funds that we received that were for an Everest Metro grant,
Right.
because we received them, we have to record them as revenue. And then, so when you're looking at the December budget status report, I don't know if you remember, here. There was a huge negative in public safety.
Mhm.
Right there on the 38, because we had to expense the funds that we received on Everest Metro's behalf.
Mhm.
I'm just asking for an increase in revenues and an increase in expenditures to reflect the additional funds. that
Move
we
to approve.
Motion by Maloney,
Second.
second by Evans. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, no resolutions or ordinance. Future items, next meeting, April 15th at 4:15. Please note that.
We have
Tourism
tourism.
starts immediately after
Okay.
finance.
I'll be calling in on that one. I'll be gone, but I'll call it. Okay.
The topics for future meetings?
Nope.
Anything? Okay. Remarks from staff? Anything? Remarks from committee members?
I got one. I'd just like to thank John for serving on the finance committee and saying yes. And with your background, it's awesome. And for a half an hour tonight, that's not a little bad deal, so.
No, it's pretty good.
And then I would like to, I don't know where this has to go. Does it paying the committee and commission members? Does that go to finance? Does that go to board? Because we pay once a year. And I know that's really neat for, for whoever has to pay the checks. But wouldn't it be a little nicer to go every quarter? I mean, unless we all want to do it once a year. I mean, maybe we should all do once a year. And then that's okay. I mean, if that's okay for them, it should be okay for us.
I guess the only thing is that, of course, I suppose you only have to,
Well,
it
I asked,
doesn't take as long, but you have, the staff has to go through
Mhm.
all the minutes to find out who was attending and who wasn't.
well, you
attending.
either have to do it one whole time or 4 times a year. then actually the first time I asked, the previous clerk said it was very tedious to make those small checks. Well, what's a small check? Is a $10 check small or $2,000 check small?
If we would ask direct deposit, I wouldn't think there'd be an issue because.
I think we should do that. I do. And you know what? If it's quarterly, that's fine. I just think I wouldn't mind it if we pay him in advance of, some kind of a number and then correct it at the end of the next year. But to hold somebody's money for a whole year, it doesn't even matter what the amount is. Some of those numbers are actually quite high. You got Roy Mumper serving on 2 committees. And, he's here every single time, 24 times. So just a thought. I didn't know if it was here or board or where.
I think we
But
can make
maybe
the
staff should just
recommendation.
talk about it. Yeah,
Maybe that's something you can put
Yeah.
in next agenda
yeah, there you go.
for
I'm fine.
discussion.
I'm fine with that. And I don't know if John didn't know that, now he knows that, so now he's, oh no, you got paid that way on the
Yeah.
commission.
You
That's
pay
right.
the commission.
Okay.
Well, I used to have one guy that liked it because it was at Christmas time.
Yeah,
and
I
you could
know,
do-
I know, but,
But it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Really.
so that's all I got. But thank you, John.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, any announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Maloney,
Second.
second by Evans. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guy.
Okay, motion carried.
All right, I'm buying that fuzzy taco. Let's go. Do
Let's
they have
go.
beer there or no? Let's go to Dale's. No, I don't think they do. Does Fuzzy's Taco have beer?
margaritas.
Oh, they do? Oh, then they must have beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do.
Oh,
It could just be,
yeah, but how could, that's a liquor license.
that's a liquor.
Oh,
license.
then
They only serve a limited amount.
Class A. Thanks, John.
See you later.
I don't
Yep.
know, was that-
So a class A and not a class B?